If you have never looked at a power and control wheel, stick around because we're going to do it together. I looked at this for the first time a few weeks ago, and I really wish I would have looked sooner because it clearly articulates what is considered abuse. So let's start at the top, using intimidation. My ex would slam doors, punch walls, throw things around, and stomp around the house like an elephant when he was mad. He was 6'2" and I am 5'5", so he would use his physicality to stop me from leaving a room or to hold me down. And when I would ask him to let me go, he would laugh like it was some kind of joke, but it made me feel very uncomfortable. I felt like because he was able to physically restrain me, I had no autonomy over my own body. Every example in the emotional abuse section can be checked off. He would name call either in anger or in jokes. He would put me down and make me feel bad about myself and then tell me that I'm being too sensitive. And when he called me abusive for having boundaries, I felt like I was going crazy. And he would constantly issue guilt trips whenever I didn't do what he wanted or when I centered my needs instead of his. My ex didn't overtly isolate me, meaning he never told me that I couldn't see my friends and family. But when I did, or when I did anything without him, including grocery shop, if I wasn't easily accessible by phone, he would berate me. Excessive calling and texting. And if I didn't answer or I missed the call, he would resort to using all of the tactics in the emotional abuse section. It made me feel like going anywhere without him would cause a fight. This is a covert way of isolating somebody. Minimizing, denying, and blaming. All of these every single day. You're too sensitive. It didn't happen like that. I was only joking. If you hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have done this. Everything was invalidated, denied, or blame shifted. Using children. We didn't have children together, but that didn't stop him from using the children as a manipulative tool. When we were in the relationship, he would accuse me of not loving his children whenever I would set boundaries around my responsibilities for his children. When he was giving me the silent treatment, he would call his children over to relay messages to me. He would say hurtful things about me to the children, and then they would repeat them and he would laugh. And when we split, he constantly used the children to try to guilt me for ending the relationship. I love and miss your daughter. You're being so selfish. It's so unfair for my children to lose their home. All of this is childish, manipulative, and abusive. My ex defined the gender roles in our relationship. In terms of domestic labor, emotional labor, mental labor, child rearing, all of it was put on me. And whenever I would ask for help, he would say that that was women's work. He contributed the bare minimum around the house, but then complained about how I would do things. And he would only ever pitch in if something wasn't up to his standards. He acted like the master of the castle, even though it was legally my house. Like if I called somebody to do a repair, he would get so pissed off and would criticize me for days. I made more money than him and I was basically supporting him. So this abuse showed up by him not being transparent about the money that he was bringing in and where it was going. We would create budgets together to accommodate each other's earnings and he would agree to them, but he would never be able to fulfill his end of the budget. And when I would ask him where his money went, he would resort to the emotional abuse tactics. He also felt entitled to my money. I would catch him using my credit card or going into my wallet without my permission. And finally, coercion and threats. His threats were to leave the relationship or to harm himself. He would say, if you do that, I won't be here when you get back, or nobody will miss me anyways. And when we split, he would threaten to take things that he had no legal claim over, like my house. He told me he was going to take me to court. He threatened to take my 7-year-old daughter's bed because his parents paid for it. And then, of course, on the outer ring, you have physical and sexual violence. There was no physical abuse in my relationship, but there was sexual assault and sexual coercion. This would show up as incessant groping, even when I communicated that it wasn't something I liked. And then he would use the emotional abuse tactics to coerce me into spicy time. Go get this wheel and take a closer look at it. I promise you, it will clear everything up. Then you will be able to spot when your partner's being abusive.